Welcome back to the ZIPPER YouTube channel. In today's class, we're going to learn how to make this beautiful fitted shirt dress with standard collar. It has like a double puff sleeve and has this beautiful zipper at the neckline area. It's a very simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. This is something you like to learn. Kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you.
I'm going to use this Ankara fabric for the main shirt. I'm using this jean zipper for the outer zip. Okay, it's not going to have a zipper allowance. We're going to be installing this with the outer zip method, the method they used in certain senator zippers. And then I'm using this elastic for the sleeve. So this is the fabric I'm using for the sleeve. It's a soft crepe fabric. So I'll set all of them aside now and draft the shirt dress first. So the total length of my shirt dress is 40. I added 1 inch seam allowance to that, which makes it 41. So you can see I left half an inch here before I'm going to start my measurement. So this is my full length for my dress. The total is 41. So from here I mark my armhole measurement 9 inches, my half length, which is 16 inches, and my hip line, the hip line is 26 inches, and then the full length. So those are the markings that I have here. So for the shoulder, my shoulder is 16 divided by 4 is 8. So on my shoulder here I'm going to mark 8 inches for the shoulder points. And then for my neckline I'm marking 3 inches for the neck width and 1 inch for the back neck depth and 3 inches for the front neck depth. So with my curve ruler I'm going to connect that. You can see there is no zipper allowance for this. You don't need a zipper allowance. Yes, we are going to have a zipper in front, but we don't need to add zipper allowance because it's not going to go all through. We are not going to be slashing the center front. Okay, so this is my neck depth for the front, and here I'm going to mark 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'll connect that to my neck point. So on my armhole area I'm trying to make this as beginner friendly as possible, so please just follow what I'm doing. On my armhole line here I'm going to mark my bust measurement. The bust is 44 divided by 4 is 11. So I have that here. I'll mark half an inch for my ease, and I'll add 1 inch for my zipper allowance, for my seam allowance, sorry. On my waist, the waist is 34 divided by 4 is 8.5, which is here. Okay, if you want to add that to it, you add 1 inch for your dart allowance, and then I'm going to add extra 1 inch for my seam allowance. So I'm going to go over to the hip as well. The hip is 44 as well, so I'm marking 11 here. I'll add my ease, and then I'm going to add 1 inch for my allowance as well. So whatever I have here is what I'm going to take down, which is 13 inches. That is what I'm going to measure on the hem as well. So now I'm going to connect all of them together. So I have connected them together, as you can see, and then I used my chalk, my curved ruler, to mark my armhole line. So here I'm cutting the back neckline first. I'm going to add a little allowance on the shoulder, which is this, and then I'll go ahead and cut my side seam as well. Just cut on the chalk line that you made, and then after this I'll take it to my sewing machine so that I can start taking the darts. So you can actually mark it on your fabric before you go and sew, or when you get to your sewing machine you start marking it out. But for a beginner it's advisable that you mark your darts right from now. So here for the dart on my waistline I'm going to divide my bust span measurement into 2. That's 8 divided by 2, which is 4. So here I'm going to mark 4 inches. Okay, so from here now I'll go up by, you can mark your bust point measurement. That's your nipple, that's your from your shoulder to your bust point. So for me that's around 10.5, 11. So I just come down by 1 inch from there, which is going to leave it at around here. So from my waist, that's around 4.5, or I can just mark 5 inches. So I'll go up by that, and then from here now, from my hip line, I'm going to come up by 2 inches. You can do 2 to 3 inches, and then I will mark the 4 inches on those points as well. That's for the front. For the back, it's going to get to your chest line measurement for the back. So I'm marking the front first. So here I'm going to connect the center lines together first. So after connecting the center line, I will take the dart of 1/2 inch. Remember, we added 1 inch allowance on the waist. So I'll take the dart of 1/2 inch on both sides, and then I'm going to connect it to the center line again. So taking your dart is simple. So what I'm doing to this side now, I'll go ahead and do it to the other side of the front, and then do the same thing for on the wrong side of your fabric, please. So I'll do the same thing for the back as well, so that when I get to my sewing machine, I'll just go ahead and just sew it. You don't need to do any measurement again, since you already have your lines. So this makes it easier for you to work with. So you can see now that my dart is here. So I'm going to go over and turn it and do the same thing for this side, and open it out and do the same thing on the back as well. So after that, I'm going to detach the front and back and cut out the front neckline. I've gone ahead to sew in the dart. You can see this is for the front, and this is for the back. So like I said, I marked it so that it can be easy for me to sew. So now I'm going to set the back aside. I don't need to do much on the back for now, and then I'm going to work on the front. So for the front, I have not cut out my neckline. I'll rearrange the shoulder area. You make sure that everything matches, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut my neckline. So after cutting my neckline, I will fix the zipper at the center front. So I want this tutorial to be as detailed as possible, and at the same time I don't want this to be too long. So I'm going to film a separate video on how you can fix the outer zipper, so that we can get it well, because I don't want it to be rushed. So now I'm cutting the front neckline, which is this. So now I'm going to open it up, and then I will locate the center point here, and then I'm going to go ahead and install this outer zipper. Remember, there is no zipper allowance in this, so it's just going to be placed from here to wherever the zipper stops. So I will install the zipper now and bring it back to show us what we have. I have gone ahead to fix the zipper. So this is what we have. Okay, so my zipper is fixed now, and this is what it looks like on the wrong side. So what I'm going to do now is to bring the front and back together, and then I'll go ahead and join it on the shoulder and the side. So after that, I'll cut my sleeve and sew it to the bodies. So for the sleeve, like I said, I'm working with this soft crepe fabric. You can work with any fabric of your choice. It's like a puff sleeve, like a puff exaggerated sleeve. So I'll make the length, my actual sleeve length is around 22. I'll make it longer than 22 so that I can give enough room for the puffiness. I'm cutting the two sleeves together. So the length that I have here is about 30 inches, which is fine for me. So the width of this is 11 and a half. That's because the fabric I have is just it's not up to a half yard. So if you have more fabric, you can use more. If I had more fabric, I would have preferred it to be bigger than this, but I'm going to be working with this fabric that I have, this 11 and a half fabric that I have. So on this upper part here, I'm going to go down by 4 inches for my cap's height. Yeah, I'm going to come down and mark around 4 inches, 4 to 5 inches, and then with my free hand, I'm going to connect like this to form like a curve. So now I'll cut this out, and I'm not going to do any shaping to the side or the hem. I'm going to use elastic to gather it back to what I want. So So here I'm just going to notch it on this upper part. So if you notice on the hem there is the Ankara design on it. So you can do it in two ways. You can either open this at that point and then you sew in your Ankara, but I'm not going to open mine. I'm just going to mark where I want the Ankara to start from, and then I'll place it on it. So I'll mark around from the hem. I'll mark around. Okay, so for the Ankara taping, I'm going to mark around 5 to 6 inches from the hem, like this, and then I'm going to make it into a straight line. This is the line that you see here, and then I'll go ahead and cut out my Ankara. The Ankara that I have here is about 3 inches in width. So what I'm going to do now is to sew it like this, and then I'll flip it and then fold in and top stitch on it. So it's going to be here, and I'm going to also use this as a casing for my elastic as well. So after sewing it like this, I'll just sew on it here and here, so that I'll have space to dip my elastic to. So I'll do this for the 2 sleeves, and then for the upper part here, I'm going to turn to the wrong side, and from the head of my sleeve I'm going to mark around 9 inches downwards. So you can mark as low as you want, and then I made this into a straight line as well. So what I'm going to do is to use my elastic to gather this directly. I'm not going to be creating a casing for this. You can also create a casing for it if you want. So I'll just take it to my sewing machine and then use this elastic to drag it. So as you sew, you drag, and then you sew, so that I can gather everything for you. So I'll use elastic to drag this now, and then I'm going to sew my Ankara on this and create my casing. I'll do all this and bring it back to show us what we have. So I have gone ahead to sew in the Ankara, and you can see, let me turn to the wrong side so that I can see. I just sew on the 2 sides so that I can have these 2 casing to pass my elastic. So after sewing it, you just sew on this on the 2 edges for you to gather it. Remember, this is bigger than my wrist, so I need to gather it back. And then on the upper part here, I just use elastic to drag it, so you can see. So the elastic, I've dragged it to the actual size that I need it to be. So all you just need to do is to pass your elastic inside these 2 holes. So I have done that for the other sleeve, and this is what it looks like. So you can see that the elastic has gathered it for me, and this is what the sleeve looks like now. So, and I also hem it on the lower part as well. So I'll just sew this to my shirt dress that I already made. Okay, I'm going to sew it to the sleeve, to the armhole of the shirt dress, and then the last thing is be for us to sew the collar. So I have fixed my sleeve to the bodice after joining the shoulder, and this is what it looks like now. So because mine is a fitted dress, remember it has that and everything, it may be a bit difficult to wear because the waist is quite smaller than the bust area. So because of that, I just opened it on the side and fixed a zipper on the side so that I can wear it easily. So if yours is big enough, you may not need to do that. So now the last thing I'm going to do now is to fix my collar on the neckline. So for that, you just need to measure around your neckline. I already made my collar. It's a standard collar, and it's cut together with the placket. You can see that there is no seam line here. I have a tutorial on how you can do this already on the channel, a detailed tutorial on how you can make your standard collar cut together with your placket just like this. So now the next thing is for me to go ahead and sew this round my collar, then I'll take it to the mannequin so that we can see what it looks like.
So this is what it looks like for the mannequin. This is the zipper. You can open and close it to any needs that you want, and you can see the sleeve is adjustable. The elastic makes it comfortable for the wearer. You can push it up or down depending on what you want. I hope you enjoyed making this beautiful tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe. Thank you.